The Battle of Texas, man. It sure delivered everything we had hoped for. It never fully felt that way necessarily, at least not until Game 5. The first two games were overall very well played and dominated by the Rangers. I was there in Houston for the first time, seeing them take both games 1 and 2 and going home up 2-0 in the series. The Astros then went on the road, won games 3 and 4. Game 5 then happened when Adolis Garcia was hit by a pitch his next at-bat after hitting a big home run. He wasn't happy about it, the bench is cleared. The Astros ended up coming back in the next inning, capped off by a massive 3-run homer by Jose Altuve, winning the game and winning all 3 games in Arlington, heading back to Houston up 3-2. So not only was there now a much tighter series than originally thought to be after Game 2, but there was now intensity as well. Bad blood, and you knew the fans were going to let Adolis Garcia hear it in Houston. After Game 5, when asked about the benches clearing situation that eventually led to the Astros' comeback, Martin Maldonado said the worst thing he did was wake up the Houston Astros. And right when he said that, everyone was like, mic drop moment. But little did anyone know, Adolis Garcia didn't really wake up the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros woke up Adolis Garcia really quick, but this is a dude running on the field and then getting decked by security. This is also a dude who isn't subscribed to the channel. Do you really want to end up like this dude? Consider hitting that subscribe button if you enjoy the content and haven't yet. Thank you. Multiple dudes were ejected because of the whole Game 5 fiasco, with all 6 of the umpires agreeing that Bryan Abreu's 99-mile-an-hour pitch to Adolis Garcia was intentional, so he was ejected. Dusty Baker was then ejected for having a meltdown over this situation, and Adolis Garcia was also ejected. The league also agreed with those umpires on the idea that Bryan Abreu's pitch was intentional, going as far as to suspend Abreu for 2 games. And after there being talks that he might have to serve them in the postseason, it was eventually deemed that he would just serve the 2 games to begin next year's regular season. Adolis Garcia wasn't suspended, neither was Dusty, so none of this really ended up affecting the series moving forward. Except it did. Maybe it didn't factor into who would or who wouldn't be on the field, but Adolis Garcia not getting suspended was the worst thing that could happen for the Astros. The Astros have been on the better end of jokes and situations over the last several years. They tend to be that bear that you don't want to poke. I've been very vocal on how stupid every fan base is that has yelled out, "We want Houston," whether it was Yankees fans, Phillies fans, Twins fans, and even Rangers fans. It was just obviously a dumb thing to do, considering this team time and time again continued to prove that they always get the last laugh in situations like these. You're just asking for trouble, and asking to be clowned on by Astros fans at the end of it all. But this year, things most certainly turned out differently. The beef between the Rangers and Astros didn't just start when Adolis was hit in Game 5. You gotta go back to July, and that's when there was another benches clearing situation that went on between these two teams. After Yordan Alvarez was hit by a pitch in Houston, Marcus Semien was then plunked in his next at-bat, and he was clearly not happy. But instead of taking it out on anyone in that moment, Semien decided to take it out on the baseball in his next at-bat, smacking a 2-run shot, and upon arriving to home plate, Martin Maldonado would have some words for Semien, only for Semien to then gesture him to shush. Adolis Garcia would later hit a grand slam to boost the Rangers' lead even more, and Marcus Semien, who was on base for this grand slam, would hop on home plate, something Martin Maldonado was not a fan of, started jawing at Semien again, other guys started to get involved, the benches cleared, and that was really that. But after the game, when talking about the situation, Marcus Semien revealed something that Maldonado had said to him during the incident. After Semien was hit by the pitch in what he felt was intentional, Nathaniel Lowe would connect for a 2-run shot, and as Semien crossed home plate, he told Maldonado that the Rangers were going to win this game, and in response, Maldonado said, "Nah, it's just like when you were in Oakland," referring to when Semien was back with the A's and the Astros beat them out for the division every year other than 2020. And even in that year, the Astros ended up beating Semien in his A's in the postseason. When Semien then crossed home plate on Garcia's grand slam, 11 runs for the Rangers later, Semien told Maldonado, "I told you we were going to win this game." What this was clearly Semien and Maldonado being very competitive with one another, as they are two guys who have been competing in the same division for years. so this was just boiling over, even with Simeon no longer being in Oakland. I do think at the end of the day, despite how strong the Rangers came out this year and played really well, even leading the division for a while, and taking a good division lead into the final weekend of the regular season, I feel like everyone deep down inside still thought Houston was going to get the last laugh. Just like they did with Oakland, just like they did with Seattle, the Rangers were likely not going to be any different. The Astros are a team that has continued to be consistently one of the best teams in baseball over the last many years. What made anyone believe that a newly good Texas Rangers team would truly change anything about that? And, well, as expected, the Astros did end up getting the last laugh. Or so we all thought they did. In early September, the Rangers took on the Astros in what would be the last regular season matchup between the two Texas teams. It was in Arlington, and the Astros couldn't have put up any more of an ass whooping. I mean, it was embarrassing and made the Rangers look incredibly helpless. Ironically, the Rangers led 3-0 in the first game of the series, but Houston took it from there, going on to score 13 runs, winning the game 13-6. The next game, Jose Altuve hit 3 home runs in the first 3 innings. The Astros scored 2 touchdowns and won the game 14-1. Game 3, just more ugliness, with the Astros winning 12-3, sweeping the Rangers and leaving them for dead. I mean, this was such an overwhelmingly lopsided series of games between these two teams that it prompted me to make a video on how it may have killed the Rangers season. I mean, how can you come back from that? Oh, but it gets worse. Despite getting their teeth kicked in, the Rangers continued to fight, climbing back and actually reclaiming their division lead since the Astros were starting to struggle a bit, and going into the final weekend of the season, the Rangers had the division in the palm of their hands. All they had to do was split their 4-game series in Seattle against the Mariners, a team they had just swept the weekend prior, and or have the Astros lose just 1 game in Arizona against the Diamondbacks. Neither of those things happened because the Astros won every game in Arizona while the Rangers lost 3 out of 4. They'd lose the last game of the season by getting shut out and losing 1-0. 2 runs is all they needed to end up ahead of the Astros for the AL West crown, and they failed, ending up finishing the season tied with the Astros at 90 wins apiece, and with the Astros owning the tiebreaker because of head-to-head record, Houston came out on top yet again. The Rangers could have been flying home celebrating a division win while having several days off to get ready for the ALDS while having home field advantage, but instead now had to fly down to Tropicana Field and take on a great Rays team while the Astros got to celebrate and relax for a bit. I mean, just everything about this sucked for the Rangers and their fans, and let the trolling begin. They got clowned on for celebrating clinching a playoff berth the night before getting shut out on the final day of the season to blow the division. The Astros were popping champagne after they won the division, with Alex Bregman delivering a mic drop speech, saying, "A lot of people were wondering what it would be like if the Stros didn't win the division. I guess we'll never know." The Rangers, however, just kept on fighting. They'd sweep the 99-win Rays, going on to then sweep the 101-win Orioles, setting up a chance at redemption against their biggest foe, their biggest demon, their biggest enemy, the Houston Astros, a team that was now headed to their 7th straight ALCS appearance. So fast forward through the first 5 games, the Rangers continued to go undefeated in the postseason, take a commanding 2-0 lead back home, only to then lose all 3 games similar to how things ended up in early September, losing Game 5 on a crushing late game blown save, and it was now time for them to pack it up and head back to Houston with their backs against the wall. But just like every obstacle this team faced throughout the 2023 season, where there was injuries like losing Jacob deGrom for the year, getting embarrassed at home by the Astros, blowing the division to the Astros, this team continued to fight. Postseason stud Nathan Eovaldi did the damn thing in Game 6. The pitching overall held it down and kept the Astros to just a couple of runs, and with the game still in reach for the Astros in the top of the 9th, up would come Adolis Garcia. At this point in the game, Garcia had struck out 4 times. The crowd had been on him all night, booing him to hell and back, and what would he do? Demolish a grand slam to put the cherry on top as the Rangers won Game 6, forcing a Game 7. And the offense didn't stop, because 2 batters into Game 7, Corey Seager hammered a second-deck bomb to put the Rangers up 1-0. Adolis Garcia would then continue smacking baseballs by hammering a single off the wall and left to make it 2-0. A baseball dropping in off the bat of Mitch Garver made it 3-0, and the Rangers really just had control from this point on. Max Scherzer was not at his best, but he still gutted it out enough in his 2 2/3 innings of work. Jordan Montgomery then came in and threw a couple of innings, followed by the bullpen, keeping the Astros offense mostly quiet. Overall, this Rangers pitching staff continues to amaze me. Jacob deGrom hasn't been a part of it for months. Max Scherzer is clearly not the guy he once was while also dealing with injuries, so the rotation was already incredibly thin entering the playoffs to begin with, let alone the Astros series, and on top of that, the bullpen was and had been an issue and weakness all year long. Yet this pitching staff found a way. Also, shout out Bruce Bochy, who continues to add on to his incredible resume as a manager, and with his Game 7 win in Houston, Bochy continues to be undefeated in Game 7s and winner-take-all games. He is 3-0 in Game 7s and 6-0 in winner-take-all games. An awesome, even-keeled leader in baseball mind. But the story of this game and this series continued to be and ultimately was Adolis Garcia. In the 3rd inning, after already driving in a run in the 1st, Garcia would hit an opposite field shot, and he sure enjoyed every bit of it. With the Rangers now up 6-2 in the 4th, Garcia drove in a couple more runs on another base hit to make it 8-2. Skip ahead to the top of the 8th, the Rangers are up 10-3 now, and Adolis Garcia then said to hell with it, hitting a towering fly ball over the wall and left for his 2nd home run in the game, his 3rd home run in his last 6 at-bats, his 4th home run in his last 3 games, and his 5th home run in his last 4 games. So when Marcus Semien fielded a grounder off the bat of Kyle Tucker, making the toss over to first and ending the series as the Rangers won the pennant, it was no question who the ALCS MVP was. Adolis Garcia has been a beast all year long for this Rangers offense and team. 39 home runs, over 100 RBIs, I mean, not much more you can ask for from this dude. And it of course did not end in October. He just has continued to mash all postseason long, and finally became someone who the Astros were not able to have the last laugh against. Whether it was early September, or when they won the division, or when they won all 3 ALCS games in Arlington, as much as it seemed like they were going to have the last laugh against Adolis Garcia and this entire Texas Rangers team, it just never ended up truly happening. So, Martin Maldonado ended up being wrong on 2 things. Adolis Garcia didn't wake up the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros woke up Adolis Garcia. And, yeah, as far as things ending up just like how they did when Marcus Semien was in Oakland, things did not end up like how they did when Marcus Semien was in Oakland.